Welcome, everybody, to Sony's E3 2017 post-show for Pixelated Points. I'm your host, Brian Thomas, alongside the bootless wonder, Gary Hines.
What's up?
Raiden's daddy, Chris.
Never gets old.
Never gets old.
Never gets old.
And we just finished watching Sony's press conference.
Just right now.
Right now,
Just
we're
finished it.
not wearing different shirts from other press conferences. We're wearing the same thing. The facade is
E3,
real.
Right into
It's
it.
been a long couple
Yeah.
days.
It's been a long couple days.
Sleepless nights.
But yeah, it's Sony's press conference, man. I was a little disappointed. I was a little disappointed. I wanted to throw that off. Right
I was
under the bat.
extremely disappointed.
Yeah.
Disappointed, and these are the Sony fanboys.
Sony fanboys
I loved
speaking.
it.
He loved it because he hates Sony, which is
No.
what he's trying to get at.
No, I don't hate.
He's
Sony.
he's an X-bot. It's okay. It's okay.
Come on now, Brian.
Come on, just because you have all
He
three
gleefully
doesn't
texted
mean
me how much he hated the conference. It's
Yeah,
like, it's
does-
so bad. He.
Just because you have a PS4 doesn't mean you're not an X-bot or an elitist.
I just
if you
feel
will.
attacked right now.
Well, you
guys,
should.
Unbelievable.
You just attack everything else, and then the moment we attack you, it's just not okay. It's all right.
not okay.
You
It's all
deserve
right.
to be attacked for this.
It's not
That's the bottom
okay,
line.
guys.
So Sony came off right off the bat. I thought it was kind of fucking weird. The musical,
drumming and all,
drumming.
it was-
Like, I understand what they were going for because it was leading into Uncharted: The Lost Legacy.
It
But I
lasted
thought,
way too long.
yeah,
was
that's
the
the
problem.
thing.
It
It was
dragged
just
on.
like you're like, what?
It would
is
have been cool for
happening?
like 10, 15 seconds, but it went on for like minutes. It was
Yeah,
like,
and
okay.
everyone was like, okay, we get it. There's a waterfall in the background, whatever. Okay.
Ooh,
Oh, yeah. And then
It did go into a cool game, though. I'll give
yeah,
you that.
and then it went into Uncharted: The Lost Legacy, which great, more Uncharted. Give it to me. I'll play it. It comes out August 22nd, which is a lot sooner, but we already knew that date. They just showed off a little bit more gameplay.
It looked good for an Uncharted. It looked like a very good Uncharted.
Yeah, it
game.
looked like a great story expansion, although
Chris, you
it's
haven't been
not.
here. What's your favorite Uncharted game?
My favorite, probably the second one.
Okay,
It's a solid choice.
it's a good choice. Not the first one.
Definitely not the first.
Definitely not the first
No one's
one.
picking the first one.
Apparently, 16% of people.
16% of people pick the first one as the best one.
My theory is that they
92
didn't play
million
2,
Americans
3,
die
or
every day
4.
from gun violence.
gun violence. That is
right.
correct. We only spit straight facts.
Yikes.
We
Okay.
just broke the box.
You might have just broken the box. And then moving on from
I already
Uncharted,
did that.
The Lost Legacy, we have Horizon Zero Dawn story expansion, which is called The Frozen Wilds.
Chris, what do you think about that?
It looks pretty awesome. I mean, it's too bad I trade my copy in already, but the DLC looks pretty good. I mean, I wish
Yeah.
I still had it right now, but
It does look really good. Although they were really kind of harping on exploring this northern section of the map that's like the frozen wilds.
Yeah.
But if anyone has actually played Horizon Zero Dawn, you know that there's already kind of frozen wilds.
there already is that. It's nothing new. There's
Yeah.
a lot of snow areas already.
Maybe they just kind of made it a bigger snowy area,
Right.
which I'm like, all right, cool, whatever. And it is, again, it's more DLC for a game that I love. I'll play it.
Yeah.
Cool, great. Give it to me.
If I'm gonna be honest, the first one
we
I
knew
saw it,
that
I
it
thought it was
was
gonna be
coming.
sequel announcement, so I was pretty
Oh.
excited.
No way.
No.
I know
way
it's
it's
early, but
yeah.
I mean that could have been blowing the doors off. They did that
Yeah.
right away, announced a sequel, but
I'm wondering if it is a straight DLC pack or something like Uncharted Lost Legacy, where it's more of like an expansion, separate thing. You don't need Horizon Zero Dawn to play this. I didn't check my facts before coming on here, but
Robot dinosaurs.
it looked awesome.
Yeah,
I mean,
it does look
if I
really
still
good.
had the game, I would definitely get that DLC, but unfortunately, I don't. So
You live and you learn.
the
Moving
next
on.
game that they moved on to was
Thank you,
Days
Alanis.
Gone.
Brian, tell me your thoughts on this game.
Do you want me to tell you my
I just
thoughts?
wanna
or
hear
do
your
you-
thoughts on this
Okay,
game.
so I saw Days Gone last year, and I didn't think it was all that interesting looking, so I was very skeptical. They were like, look at how many zombies can be on the screen, and it's like Dead Rising, and I'm like, nah, I don't think this is for me.
it's
and
zombies.
And then they're slowly starting to leak out a little bit more details, and they showed off the new gameplay footage for this one. And the first one was very like run and gun shooting, trying to escape out the zombie horde. This one was you were trying to like infiltrate a rival biker gang to like save your buddy, but then there's like a quarantine section of zombies that you're like sneaking around, and then you're like, oh, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to let these zombies go and attack everybody and cause mayhem to cause a distraction to get in and save your buddy. And I'm like, all right, like I get it. That's a cool concept.
To me, it looked like a cruder version of The Last of Us. It just looked like a. Is that what you wrote down?
Literally written down cheap version
That's what
of The Last
yeah,
of
it
Us.
looked like a more swears trying to be cooler version of The Last of Us, but it just doesn't look
It's
like it's going
not
to have
gonna-
the impact
Yeah,
emotionally.
I
like-
mean, I laughed out loud at the first, like, so in the gameplay trailer they show
on
like,
the motorcycle.
On the motorcycle, he gets clotheslined. The fight scene after that,
was
I laughed
bad.
out loud.
It was bad.
Because it was quick time event, and then it would literally, and I think I tweeted out, it was the weakest choke I've ever seen on somebody where he took the rope and he was just like, not even like pulling tightly, and the guy just like keeled over, and it was just like,
It's not looking good.
No.
It's
No.
really not looking good.
No.
And
I'm not going to play that game, I can tell you right now.
I really don't think that that's going to be good. I know that Sony Ben has been working on it for a while.
I'll wait till Last of Us 2.
Yeah, and I was just it just looked bad. I thought that using the zombies as a distraction, like, all right, cool, but we've seen that in other games.
It's just one mechanic.
Why do they
Yeah,
have those zombies?
exactly. That's exactly it. You already have a fucking first-party studio working on a zombie
not need
title.
another one. I
You
agree.
don't need this.
No.
Too similar. Way
Yeah,
too similar.
it's like way too similar. And
Only
the
difference is he
whole
has a biker jacket on.
Sons of
pretty much.
Anarchy thing, I'm like, oh my god.
I was going to say the same thing, too. Sons of
just
Anarchy.
like
Yep.
get out.
Nope.
So
not a
dumb.
fan.
I don't know. I think it looks dumb. And then another game that I think is a personal, just whatever for me is Monster Hunter World, which they showed off.
See, to me, I never played a Monster Hunter, but
Mm-hmm.
from what I hear, if you're a fan of Souls, that you will like Monster Hunter. So, if this is a good way to get into it, I'll give it a try.
This is one of those games where it's like people are fucking jazzed up about it because Nintendo
Oh, yeah.
has had this franchise for so long,
Yep.
and now it's coming to the PS4.
I'm pretty
and
excited. I'm definitely gonna give that a try.
So, and again, like I'm happy for my friends who do enjoy Monster Hunter.
I'm happy for me. I'm glad
You will. That's the thing is that I am happy for people like you. It's just so not for me. Where to the point where I'm like, why did you even put that in your conference?
Look cool.
But you have to
I mean,
understand why they did it. Too,
yeah, no,
because
it
it's a
makes
big draw.
sense.
I mean,
Yeah, it is
a lot of the reason
huge
people
thing.
holding out from like a lot of the reason people buy Nintendo is because just for that. There's
Yeah.
a lot of fans that are that sick about it, especially in Japan. I mean, it's huge
Oh
in
yeah, it's
Japan.
huge. Yeah.
So the fact that Sony could get that's actually, I think it's a big win for them.
yeah. Sorry, Gary, you were saying?
Nah, I was just
Gary
going
has
to talk
nothing to say
about
about this
the
'cause he's
monster when the monster that they showed off. The part that I thought was cool when his nose came up. Did you see that? Did you see like the
Yeah, I know what you're
elongated nose? That was like super weird, and I just thought it was funny looking. But we can proceed.
That's okay. That's okay. Moving
nose.
on to other giant monsters, they announced a full-on remake of Shadow of the Colossus.
So I was super pumped when I first saw like what they were showing.
yeah.
Thought it was a sequel.
Yep.
Thought it was a
disappointed.
sequel.
Thought it was like I was just like, all right, here we go. Like,
I'm
Last
not-
Guardian wasn't the best. Let's get fucking Shadow of the
Well,
Colossus.
full
in there.
disclosure here, I never actually beat Shadow of the Colossus, the original one. I started playing it right after Ico, and I wasn't feeling it. But I mean, I have a feeling I might jump back into it again with this new remake. And
I saw
Could be
like
good.
a side by side of like the original PS2 one and this
it looks a
one.
lot
really
better.
And it does. I mean, it looks like an early PS3 game. It looks kind of like The Last Guardian does now, but it is so much nicer looking.
Yeah.
It's a lot smoother. The
yeah.
Very
animations,
disappointed that it wasn't a sequel.
Yeah, I don't know what they were doing with that.
I mean, we're still doing remakes. I thought that was just like in
Well,
the beginning
here's-
stages of.
Well, this is probably what they were thinking is that their last true game that they made was The Last Guardian. That took them, what, a decade?
Yeah, and it didn't.
They're probably
really
thinking
do
maybe if we
too
do a
well.
remake, they can actually put this out sometime
Although,
realistically.
I will say that it is being it's being done by Bluepoint, who are actually really good at that, like remakes and just like schedule stuff. Bluepoint is actually very good at that kind of stuff.
Oh,
so-
look good to me as someone who hasn't actually played the original that much.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll play it.
Yeah, I think I think it's nice. I think it would have been better if we didn't get the Ico Shadow of the Colossus
Right.
collection on PS3. So
Right.
it's like this game has come out on 3 different consoles consecutively.
kind of like a Skyrim.
It's this new Skyrim, yeah.
It's kind of like a Skyrim.
Let's move on.
Moving on, they showed a little bit of COD World War II, and if that's your thing, cool. You can get it November 3rd.
I'm actually kind of interested.
Oh,
in
I
Call
thought
of
we
Duty
were
yet.
just fucking blown by
No,
this.
this one I watched a bunch of gameplay, especially in the multiplayer. They didn't show it off during the press conference, but I actually watched it. Side videos, people put it on YouTube.
Yeah.
And the multiplayer looks like COD 2, just updated.
There's a lot of controversy with this game. The fact that people they're blanking out the SWAT stickers. People don't like that.
Yeah, that's something that is.
I didn't notice that actually.
Yeah, Wolfenstein's not doing that. So I mean, but the gameplay itself looked like old school Call of Duty, which got me a little bit interested into it. But I mean, that's where it's kind of stopping.
Okay, fair enough.
Personally, I could live the rest of my life never playing another military shooter in World War II.
I think I'd be fine with that.
Yep.
But
I've done enough.
yeah. Moving on, they showed off a bunch of PSVR stuff, which we're just going to move on.
That was really, really bad. Really bad.
The VR, they spent like 20 minutes.
And their highlights for the VR were yet another Skyrim, but the 10th remake of Skyrim.
What?
And
Skyrim?
Final Fantasy 15
Skyrim's
fishing.
It's the new Minecraft.
Final Fantasy 15 fishing.
Fishing.
No, Final Fantasy 15 is a bad game on its own. And the fishing was one of the worst parts about it.
And then
now they're
they
making
were
a whole game about it.
There we go. That's a good fucking use of resources, Sony.
I mean, that...
Like this. We're getting aggressive with it.
Yeah. Fucking sprinkle it.
Next. Let's not.
So
on.
the next game that they showed off was God of War. So this was probably, I think, my second favorite thing that I saw.
It looked really good.
Yeah.
Before this conference, I was not excited at all for God of War. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, it's Kratos with the kid. It looks kind of stupid. But then once I saw that trailer, and it looks pretty smart. It looks intelligent. It looks like the combat looks awesome. I mean, the story looks like it'll be very interesting. I mean, I'm very hyped for that one.
So yeah, I'm right in the same boat there with you. Like the story of God of War has always just been like, I'm an angry fucking disgruntled person.
Now
I'm
there's
gonna kill
another
everybody.
dimension to it.
And now you introduce this kid, and Kratos is a little bit older, and so like the relationship there, I'm seeing a lot of Joel and Ellie from The Last of Us. So it seems like they're mixing that with God of War. Although I will say the gameplay, however, doesn't look like
It's not as
typical,
visceral as the old
Yeah,
ones.
it doesn't look hack and slash.
Which might be a good thing, though. I think they need to change up the formula a little bit.
Yeah, because it does look like just a normal third-person action game.
I mean, the third one got a little too over the top with the visceralness and just
and
ripping
just,
everyone's
like-
head off left and right. I mean, this one might scale it back a bit. It actually might be more enjoyable as a game.
Yeah, let's see. Well, they still have like the epic set pieces,
Right, yeah.
like those crazy big, and then you flying off of a fucking god's back, or.
And I was really impressed by the enemy variety too. Just in this small trailer, you saw a bunch of a wide variety of different enemies, which all looked pretty interesting.
Yeah, like Gary, you were mentioning off air that not a whole lot of blood in this trailer.
Yeah.
And so like 2 seconds later, there was like this giant like troll that he smashed down with a rock.
So it looked like
and then-
there was like orange glowing enemies, and so that's where when I first saw it, I was like, "Where's all this?"
Yeah, and then
But it kind of fits with the theme of kind of scaling it back a
Well,
bit.
I don't even think it's scaling. It might be, but I think it has to do with some story element.
I think it has to do with the variety of enemies.
Yeah.
Again, I
Chris
think they
was
heard the
saying.
complaints from the third one. A lot of people said it's a little too over the top. Like it's
Yeah.
a little too
I'm actually
ridiculous.
playing through the first one,
The third one.
third one,
You're playing the third one.
third one. Yeah, that's what I'm playing.
Yeah.
And
I tried to.
I'm
the third
enjoying
one's
it.
good, but the first two are a lot better.
Did
Yeah.
you guys notice? So it seems like the antagonist of the game. So he says like he knows who he is.
Right.
So it seems like he knows Kratos' backstory, which is weird because Kratos comes from Greek mythology, and then it seems like he's making the transition into Nordic mythology. And he says something like, "Oh, I've seen who you are, and like you're, like you're supposed to be better than us, even though I know how violent you are. Like you Greeks are supposed to be better than us Nords." So I'm wondering if this Nordic enemy has a chip on his shoulder to try and take out Kratos because of some sort of like.
I mean,
hierarchy
considering Kratos' history, I mean, he's probably got a long line of people that want to kill him. So
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, I thought this was probably the best game that was showed.
For Sony, yeah, I would
mean,
agree.
for me, I think there's only two games that really matter. And I know we'll get to the second one, but it definitely looked good. Definitely looked good.
The next thing they showed off Detroit Become Human, which is David Cage's new joint. It's Heavy Rain.
I can't stand it.
Yeah.
It looked so bad to me. It looked like
The first trailer last year had my attention.
Looked better, right?
Yeah. I mean, it
I just don't get
to
how
me it
it's
looks
been
very
regressing.
cheesy.
Yeah.
The gameplay doesn't look like fun to me.
I don't like the whole idea.
It looks very
of,
cringeworthy, the whole game. Like,
I don't like the idea of you being AI and rising up against the humans and then just picking, are you going to be violent? Or are you going to be like nice? Like, I like those type of games where, your decisions matter. Like we've played through like Until Dawn and stuff like that. And I like that, but this just seems like way over the top, and
every minute the
fun.
trailer went on to me was more and more cringeworthy. Like I felt it just looked cheesy.
The main character looked just odd. Like the whole thing, it just didn't look as good as last year's trailer, which was disappointing. Because last year's trailer was very simple, straight to the point. It was on the roof.
Yep,
It showed one scene.
Yeah.
This showed multiple scenes, and they were throwing a lot at you, and like, you have 200 choices throughout
That's
the
the
game.
whole
Like,
revolution thing.
Yeah.
like, come on.
Yeah, I don't know. I saw it and I just kind of,
Did we get a release date for it either?
never.
Yeah.
It's David Cage's game. That won't be out anytime soon.
Yeah.
And then the last thing that they showed off. Well, I'm sorry. Did you have anything else?
I mean,
to
even
add to
David
that?
Cage too. I mean, a lot of his games, I feel they usually have a good premise, but he usually doesn't deliver on them. Like even Heavy Rain, I thought
Yep.
was interesting for a while until I realized all the plot holes, and it was just
You're just like, yeah, wait, what? But yeah,
yeah. I have a
it's
feeling
the-
this one's going to be very similar.
Yeah. So I mean, hey, I'm glad that he can still make games, and people who enjoy those games can play them.
I
I'm a
enjoy
huge-
something different, which is I appreciate
Yeah.
the fact they're trying to do something that's outside the box, but I don't think he's going to nail the execution. He never does.
Yeah.
So. It's kind of like Molyneux. You know, in my opinion.
True. So the last thing that they showed off was the new Spider-Man game from Insomniac. So I'm really hyped up on this game.
I think it looks awesome.
I think it looks great. I am very wary of a lot of things about it.
I think a lot of people get too overly concerned with too many QuickTime events. Too many. I mean,
Well, I don't even think for me it's the quick time events. I think from what I took away from this, and Insomniac, coming off like Sunset Overdrive, like
Ratchet and Clank.
the gameplay is gonna be fucking super
the combat
solid.
looks fantastic.
Oh, it does. It looks like Arkham,
Arkham.
mixed with a little bit of Uncharted with the scripted. I think that a lot of the game is going to be a lot more scripted than open world, which is
that's-
concerning to me.
See, to me, that's fine as someone who usually plays a game once and doesn't play it again. If it's all scripted the same way, I don't care because I'm not going to play it again personally.
Yeah. I mean, it's
If you're someone who likes to beat a game 100 times, then I can see that being an issue.
Now it
Yeah.
seemed to me like the beginning of the gameplay that they showed off when he's on the rooftops and he's going from rooftop to rooftop fighting different enemies, like that seems like more open worldish, and you can probably tackle that in different ways. The helicopter scene seemed to me like a situation where the game tricks you into thinking you're in control, but you're really not in control at all because everything is scripted. Like the moment where he jumped on it, like on whatever was being taken by the helicopter and how it went into that building and rolled down and went down, like if you can't get to that without it being a certain part of
which
that.
is understandable, but it's almost like an interactive cutscene for the most part. I mean,
Yeah.
you could just take it as a cutscene that you actually get to interact with. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, there's going to be certain moments like that in the game, obviously from that trailer, which I'm fine with. I mean, I got no problem with that.
I mean, Spider-Man.
As long as it's cool. I mean, that whole
Spider-Man's
helicopter scene
fucking
was cool.
sweet.
I
Yeah.
thought.
I mean, I played Shattered Dimensions, which I thought was actually pretty good. Spider-Man 2 is definitely, to me, the pinnacle of the best Spider-Man game that's been made.
I think this one's going to definitely beat that. in my
I
opinion.
mean, that game came out a long time ago. I would hope so.
Like that
you know?
helicopter scene, you could not make a scene like that with pure gameplay. You know what I mean? I mean, you kind of have to script it. You know, I mean, to make a scene.
I just really hope
intricate.
that it's not as linear as it appeared. And I think if Sony is holding stuff back, they were holding back the fact that you can really explore everything.
It kind of reminded me of like an Arkham Asylum game almost. Not Arkham, maybe Arkham City. Like it's almost like you have the Batman style of combat, and then you have these. They added on the scenes, the more cinematic scenes, like they had.
So I think that this game is going to play a lot like Arkham mixed with Uncharted. So those
Exactly, that's the perfect combo right there.
when you're swinging through on your web, you're clearly controlling Spider-Man.
Right.
If you're running
Absolutely.
across buildings, great, but there are set pieces where
Right.
the
Certain
crane
things
is
will
falling,
happen,
and
yeah.
so you have to do quick time events,
Yeah.
similar to like an Uncharted game,
Yeah.
not necessarily with the quick time stuff,
Makes
but
it more
like,
cinematic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it makes it for a more cinematic experience, which I'm okay with.
Yeah.
Although I am kind of sad where like the end of that scene, it's very much like a Telltale game where it's like, okay, Spider-Man, bring this cursor over to this cursor and press triangle, grab that thing, throw it up against the wall, jump up in the air, hit L1 or R2 and L2 back and forth, and like spray your webs or whatever. I think that. I
long as
like
there's
I
not
get
too
what
many
it's
things.
doing.
You know what it kind
yeah.
of reminds me of is like I said, we're going back to the Batman games. When you had Arkham Asylum, which was a lot more linear, and they were
Yeah.
getting the franchise on its feet.
Mm-hmm.
Once you have all the mechanics down there, all of that's when you bring out the Arkham City, which you
Yeah.
can do the whole open
brings it
world,
open,
makes
yeah.
it more open. I have a feeling that might be what the Spider-Man franchise could be like once
I
they get
absolutely
started.
agree. I'd like to see that this game has some sort of open world.
A lot of
I'd like-
potential, at least.
I'd like to see you be on the ground and walk across the street, and
Yeah.
like if let's say for example, a guy steals an old woman's purse. You can stop that guy, or just let him go if you want, if you're busy. I hope that there are little things like that, like in Grand Theft Auto 5, where, you know, like I could have a completely different experience than you or Chris, but we both know what the game is. I hope that there are at least some little aspects of that for Spider-Man.
At the same time, I will not hate on them for just making a very cinematic experience in sacrifice of, okay, you can do 100 different side missions that are all, okay, save 100 women's purses, or, you know.
No, absolutely.
That stuff gets repetitive, too. I mean, I'd rather have a more cinematic, the helicopter thing than do 100 different, look, let's go save that person or not save them, you know, like, to me.
I also would like to be able to tackle situations differently.
Yeah, obviously, strategically in each situation, you want something.
Although the stealth mechanics of
Look
this
like there's a lot of
very
different ways to
arcane.
tackle it.
Yeah. So
no, I mean, I thought it looked good. It was kind of like their, you know.
Was that an exclusive? Was that only Sony?
yeah, that's an exclusive.
That's an exclusive
title
for
for Sony
I mean, for me, you know, I was waiting for them after that
to show something.
That
I mean,
I think everybody.
A little bit of Final Fantasy VII.
Remake it, they will come.
You know, I was waiting for Last of Us. You know,
2, yeah.
I wanted to see more Last of Us 2 after the tease, and I thought we'd see that. I was pretty disappointed that they didn't show Last of Us.
Final Fantasy VII Remake as well. I mean, come on. It's been in development for a while now.
Yeah.
I mean, there should have been something.
There's lots of things that they could have shown that they held back according to
They held
Sony,
back,
but
and I felt like a lot of the stuff that they showed last year, and or a lot of the stuff that they showed isn't coming out this year. So, like, the only things that are really coming out this year, from what I gathered, and Brian, you can tell me if I'm wrong, is like the DLC stuff. You know, whereas next year they're saying 2018, and that's great and all. But like, what's coming out this holiday season?
Right.
And it's,
I think they're going to rely on third parties because there are
One thing I will say in their
yeah.
defense, I mean, when I was watching the presentation, I told Gary I was a little disappointed with all the games they announced. But what I didn't realize is that pretty much all the games that Microsoft announced are also coming out on the PS4.
Yeah.
So I mean, everything that Microsoft announced pretty much carries over into what they're doing as well. I mean, so they
Yeah.
have what they did on top of all the Microsoft stuff, except for what I think the last Light Stealing really good game looked like it was going to be a Microsoft
Yeah.
exclusive.
Sea of
And
Thieves.
Cuphead. Cuphead is what I'm really excited
But that's
about.
also on
Crackdown
PC
3.
too, right?
Oh, yeah.
Right.
So, I mean, overall, I thought that Sony had a decent showing. I thought that what they did the exact same conference that they had last year,
Yep.
just more elaborate. They were like, here's the gameplay for the games that we already kind of showed you. Like, here's a little bit more of everything we already knew about. Like, getting Monster Hunter World is a huge
That's a
thing
big
for
one,
them. Showing off like DLC stuff is cool, yes, but it's not anything new and exciting. God of War trailer was great.
That was great.
Days Gone, get away from me.
Uncharted was big.
Yeah, Uncharted is great. Shadow of the Colossus is like really the only new thing that I saw that I was personally excited about. So me overall, I thought it was a good like showing. I'm just gonna give it a yellow because there was no real sort of like tangible.
I think
excitement.
we're used to Sony like knocking it out of the park.
Also true.
I mean,
Every single
what
game.
I'd say the most disappointing thing is they had no new hardware to show. I mean, they showed the VR, but it wasn't any
I
good.
don't know if that's sarcasm or
Hardware.
not.
We want more hardware.
What?
You want more hardware?
Yes, I mean, Microsoft at least got you excited about the Xbox One X.
Yeah,
but they also
just-
They already got the Pro.
Yeah.
They
they've
just
got the
released the
Pro.
Pro.
But the Pro's not. It's a PS4 with better graphics. I mean, it's not new.
What the fuck is this?
What is an Xbox One X?
Yeah.
It's an Xbox One X. It's
One.
what it-
Hey, if you're
Yeah.
you're the Microsoft fanboy, I mean, if that sounds good enough to you, then
I mean, every Microsoft game's coming out on PC. I have an Elite PC.
You haven't heard he's all in on the PC master race now.
yeah.
I mean, if we want to just cut this and start talking about the PC Gamer Show that nobody here watched but me, you know, we could do that. But I
we
think
could do a
what we're
special
gonna
recording with just you solo.
Just
Yeah.
me, one-on-one
I
with
mean,
the camera.
I would
You
say
could
that-
do it on your Elite PC, pal.
Yeah.
The nicest thing about the Sony press conference is they had some exclusive they could announce.
Yeah.
I mean, Microsoft, as interesting as their conference was, there was no exclusive for the most part.
Yeah, you had a few exclusives here and there.
Yeah.
Me personally,
thing
I
is,
think that
let me just
Microsoft
speak
has a
to-
better conference than Sony.
A
for
much
me.
better conference. There's a lot more
Let me
entertaining.
speak to this.
Yeah.
The exclusives that Microsoft showed that are coming out this year.
I'm not going to argue
Okay.
with you.
All right.
Thanks.
What are you going to give it?
I agree
I'm,
with that.
I'm going to give it a yellow.
Yeah. God Mike back there.
It's a soft yellow because I saw no Night Trap.
It's
Should've
console
ended with
seller.
Night
It is a console seller.
That's why the Switch is gonna fail. No Night Trap.
No Night Trap, but that's
give it-
going to be it for Sony's post show. What?
Chris, what do you give it?
Oh,
No one cares apparently.
I thought you already gave it before Gary. My bad.
I'll give it a yellow.
Okay, sorry.
No new hardware.
No new hardware.
Red light.
Red light.
Red light.
But that's going to be it for our Sony E3 press conference post show. I hope you like what you heard. If you did, you can follow us on Twitter at PXLPTS. I am at It's Me BT. Gary, you are
G Hines 25.
God Mike back there.
At Steven_Sal.
And thanks so much for watching and listening.